Christina. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I am so good. Just one.
Good.
Okay. You look beautiful. I like that color.
So much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. So, Christina, thank you so much for talking to us today. I'm so excited. I love you on the show. Season 2 of Mixedish is back. It premiered last week. You play Aunt Denise. Did you have an Aunt Dee growing up?
Oh, yeah, I hope everybody did. I definitely did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely had an Aunt Dee. It's that sister of your mother's that you can call to be like, Auntie, my mama just don't get it. And your auntie will be like, you know what? She don't get it. She forgot what it's like. She forgot. And then whatever you need, you know. And I would love it when they would come visit me like in college.
Mm-hmm.
The cool auntie.
How
Yeah.
many aunties did you have? How many
I
did you
have
have?
Yeah, I have a lot. I would say Aunt Dee I definitely have two
Okay.
Aunt Dee one on each side, one on my dad's side and one on
Okay.
my mom's side. But
Mm-hmm.
let them tell her they're all Aunt Dee now. They're like, girl, you based her off of me, didn't you? I see you.
You,
I'm like,
you know they want the credit.
right. They all want the credit. So I won't tell them who it really is. Cause yeah, I think it's about
Right.
8 of them. I think I have 8 aunts. Yeah. So I won't tell who the real Aunt
Wow.
Dee is. Yeah.
You can't tell. I'm an auntie, so I know how
Yeah.
that is. You definitely can't
Yeah.
tell. So Christina, you started out in musical theater in Chicago. Is that where you got your start in this whole industry? Is that right?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I started off in musical theater. The Chicago theater scene is called the black box theater scene. It's small
Mm-hmm.
theaters before you graduate to like bigger arenas and bigger stages. But yeah, I started there. I was
Mm-hmm.
good. I was good at it, but I really got my footing once I started doing improv and sketch comedy. And I started at the Second
Mm.
City and I really took
Mm-hmm.
to it. Yeah, and I had not heard of it before. There was, I meet people all the
Wow.
time. They're like, I was taking sketch comedy classes and comedy writing classes when I was a little kid. And I knew about Saturday Night Live
Wow.
and I knew about like SNL and In
Mm-hmm.
Living Color, but I didn't really know how you got on those shows or how they came to
Right.
be, how they went to find people. And it's really at places like the Second City and other comedy theaters. And so I was there and really took to it and then came to LA to kind of make the transition from theater, comedy in the theater to comedy on TV. It took a while, but I made it.
Wow. Oh, and we're going to dive into that because your story really blessed me. Like in doing my research and learning so much about you, I was like, oh God, this is just what I needed because I was having my own moment in watching you and learning about you really inspired me. What was it about the theater or even this industry at all, acting, performing, that drew or, caught your attention and you said, okay, this is something that I want to do? What was it about it?
It's funny. I don't ever remember deciding. I just always knew. I just
Mm,
knew that I knew that I
mm,
knew. And I'm a person of faith. And so I believe, that your God has the plan for your life before the scriptures in your mother's womb. So I knew that I was supposed to
mm,
do this, but I didn't know as I had each dream and each dream developed how long each stage would take.
mm,
So I always knew that. So I
mm.
think, when I was in elementary school, I was doing plays. I was definitely doing musical theater in high school and in college. But
Mhm.
that knowing has always been there. And I'm grateful for it because
Right.
I didn't really get tested on it until I got to Los Angeles.
Mm. Ooh, the LA life. My
Yeah, the
God.
LA life is
It's
no
a journey.
joke. People think New
It's
York
no
is
joke. It's
grimy,
no
but
joke.
LA can be grimy too.
Oh, it is. It's a whole scene. It's
Yeah,
definitely a whole
for
scene.
sure, for sure.
Who were some of your early like inspirations on TV and stage that you saw and you felt like, okay, they're doing this. I know I'm gonna make it. Like, because you didn't decide, you already knew. So who did you see that you felt represented and seen on TV and stage?
Well, I would say it's interesting. I would say partly I did feel like I saw people, and then on the other hand, I didn't really see people. So on one hand, yes, I knew about Eddie Murphy, I knew about SNL,
Mm-hmm.
I saw In Living
Mm-hmm.
Color, but then also I was younger, and so my parents were like, "You actually aren't old enough to be watching this stuff." So it was kind of a sneak and watch type of situation. But when I really started like to hone in on, oh, this is how you get on Saturday Night Live, this is how you become a sketch
Mm-hmm.
comedian, I started to see that there was a very few women, Black women who looked like me who had come through those doors, and this is pre
Right.
Michelle Obama impersonations needed, there. And so, and when I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I didn't see people who looked like me. And so at that time, and then in my family, I'm first generation in show business. My parents went to segregated schools towards the later half of their schooling in Tennessee. So, I definitely think it was like, you want to be an actor for what? You want to go to school for acting for what? Like,
Right.
this is crazy. Like, Black people are just trying to survive. So I think, at first I didn't really see people. And then I began to meet and really start to kind of dig into the comedy scene and really begin to connect with people. And there are so many women that have come before me. It's just that, many of them, maybe you don't know their names, but like Diana Sands was
Right.
a Black woman who was at Saturday Night Live that we don't, people just don't talk about enough. But there's so many
Mm-hmm.
but women who have, kind of, you're cutting down that tall trees and path for other people to come through. And some of it will be as we get into like more specific genres. I was just telling someone else, the fact that we have the first Black woman to blank every week
Mm.
is, on one hand, you're
Every
like, that's exciting, but also that's dangerous because that means there's places where Black girls are not. And that's a problem. We shouldn't have
right.
that. We
Right.
shouldn't have, it shouldn't be the first
No.
Black girl to do this, and so to me, when I hear, like I'm friends with the first Black woman to write for late night, like that's weird that she's alive.
Amber.
And yeah, that's so weird. Amber Ruffin,
Mm-hmm.
it, like, that should not be, that should have happened years ago. So then you're like, if I know this person,
Right.
does that mean that that we weren't able to do that before this? And yeah, that's what that means. So we need to have more Black girls learning how to write for late night. And so every time I
Right.
hear that, and that's in any industry, I
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
I want to give people their flowers, but it can be discouraging sometimes to hear that. And some of it I didn't even know.
Definitely.
I You read things all the time. I was reading something in the military about the first Black woman Air Force pilot for the Blue Angels. Huh? We weren't even there yet. Like all of
Right.
these things and so I think representation is so important. And so for me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited to like really bring the improvisation and the art form of sketch comedy to Mixedish, to network television, to be doing comedy on television in a way that is not maybe late night or sketch work, per se, but to show
Right.
young Black girls like you can do this. You can do comedy on national television. Black
Right.
girls can do comedy on national television. We will not be locked out of this, for sure.
Mm-mm. And you definitely are not locked out. I feel like your comedic timing on this show is like just what we need. Like you, I don't know. I mean, it's about, Rainbow and her growing up, but we need on TV. We need that comedic timing that you bring to the show. But before landing this role, Christina, and this is where like your story really blessed me. Before landing this role, and well before, a season two pickup or before the show's
Mhm.
success, you had almost given up like on your career in acting. You had been out here, I believe, 7 years at that time. And
Yeah.
you were like, okay, this isn't working. Talk to us about the moment in which you get the audition for Mixed Dish. Do you feel like, okay, here we go again, or did it feel different at all? Walk us through that time, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. No, I think it definitely felt like here we go again. I for sure had given up. I even sent a letter.
Mm,
I wrote a mass email to all my friends and family. And I said, I've been in LA 7, 8 years now, 7 years. and I didn't get on a TV
Mm-hmm.
show, like a major role. I've failed people. I'm so sorry. And my boyfriend, who is now my husband, and my manager came
Mm-hmm.
to me and said, hey, just go on one more audition. And it was for a small role. I think it had like 8 lines on a backdoor pilot that
Wow.
Blackish was going to do about Tracy Ellis Ross' character being a little girl in the 80s. And so I also was like, what does that have to do with me? And they were like, well, the mom is Black and the mom has a sister and she has to be
Right.
Black. And I was like, okay. And we read, I remember my boyfriend and I, husband now, we were reading through it and he goes, this part is small enough. You could get your foot in the door. They might not go for like somebody that's like super, super famous. And I was like, what? He was like, this
Mm-hmm.
could be it. This could be your big break. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. So we stayed up, we worked on it. I went to the audition. I auditioned for Tracy Ellis Ross. Kenya Barris was there. Anton Cropper, our executive producer, Peter Saji, our show
Mm-hmm.
head writer, showrunner, auditioned for them, came home, went back to my job because I'm working a customer service job at this point. And they called to say that I
Right.
had it. They called me to say that I got the job. And I just hung up the phone. Because I was not ready for them to tell me that I had gotten it. So I didn't know what to say. And then my reps called me back and they're like, why did you just hang up? And I said, because I didn't know what to say. And I just have always heard no. I was stunned. And they said, well, get up, get dressed. You start in 90 minutes. It starts today.
Oh my God.
Go to Disney right now. So I got up, I hurried up, I got ready, ran to Walt Disney, was late for work, and Kenya Barris said, everybody, Christina
Mm-hmm.
Anthony is late. And then they cheered, like, because she just got the job. And that was the last time you were allowed to be late.
Right.
But to me, it was just like, I knew it was God and it was God's timing. And I had to let go of my own timing for my life because I still got the things that I know that I thought I was to have, which was to be doing comedy on TV. And it just took longer
Mm.
than I thought. But then what if I let go of my own timing and just trust the timing of my life? It's fine. So I've taught myself the lesson of I've learned this lesson of just hang on and don't be so pressed
Right.
about when things are supposed to happen.
Christina. Okay.
Can I
First
preach?
of all,
Can I
you
preach?
hung up on them.
Yes.
You have preached. You have preached. But first of all, you hung up the phone, and I had chills when I heard you saying that because you said I was so used to no. And I want to ask you, you talk about, doing all of these auditions over the course of 7 years, all of the rejection, you send this mass email, constantly not booking anything. You compare it to a game of basketball. And I want to find out from you, what did you learn in those seasons of no's and rejections that prepared you for yes in your yes season? What did you learn
Yes.
from that season?
Well, the
Mm-hmm.
first thing was when I got my job and I had no time to prepare, we sat down to work immediately. Like we opened the script and started working. And I remember in that moment thinking, wow, they expect me to be ready. There was no, let's talk about the character or welcome to Hollywood. We're so happy for you. And so everything that I've been working on, all the comedic timing, writing jokes, learning how to
Mm-hmm.
tell jokes, learning how to deliver jokes, it all had to come out right then because they were ready. Nobody was interested in my story or how I got to be there. They were like, let's go. You ready, right? And so in that, I think that was one of the really big lessons I learned was be practicing because you don't know when it's your turn to go in, right? And so I was practicing, and for me, practicing might look like doing a small web series that you all have never heard of, or being in my friend's play off-Broadway that don't never make it to Broadway. That should. Or doing stand-up and I see somebody opening for Dave Chappelle, but I'm opening for someone maybe that people don't necessarily know, but this is the work that I'm supposed to be doing. And those are the reps, and I'm building my muscle. I'm getting stronger. The other thing I really learned in my waiting time was to focus, stay focused. So I couldn't be looking at keeping my eyes on my own paper. I could not be looking at what other people were doing, and who's doing this interview, and you got on this talk show, and now you doing this show, and you're doing this. The thing that is for me, and it's not going to pass me by.
Right.
So I need to stay focused on it, because if I'm so worried about other people, I'm not going to be ready when my turn comes. And I'm telling you, that email for Mixedish for that audition, it was one of many auditions I went on that year. I probably went over a dozen, which is also, kind of unheard of, to go on that many shows, to be like, hey, they want to see you from 10 or 12 different TV shows. I was happy to be at that point, but also to not, when I saw the email for Mixedish, yes, it was a small part, but I was like, I can do something with this. And so that's the other lesson I learned, which is nothing is beneath you. So the smallest character with the least amount of lines, as my husband said, he's like, you get your little foot in that door and you break it wide open. And that's, what I hope to do too. And I think for people that are struggling out there now, when your turn comes, be ready. Now is not the time to be nervous. Now is the time to be bold, to be confident, and know that, all those things that I knew about myself, I still have to call on those now. Every week we get a new director on Mixedish, and it's like always someone like crazy. Sometimes they're super famous. Matthew Cherry came the day after he won an Oscar.
I love Matthew. Wow.
Oh my gosh, Matt is great. But he wasn't like, hey, Christina, welcome to Hollywood. Now this is how we do comedy. He was like, you ready? I mean, you want to hold the Emmy? Let's go. I mean, it was just time to work. And so I think that's the other thing, is like, just know your stuff, so that when it's your turn, it's just people are like, wow, why did we wait so long?
Ooh. Christina,
you are
preaching on this good morning. I know you're preaching Tuesday morning.
I had dreams of being a first lady. My dreams have passed me by. I had dreams of being a first lady. My mother said I'd be a terrible one.
Well, your Sarah is the VP. I want to ask you about that a little bit later too.
Yes.
But let's talk about this show. I mean, because even though you have a small part, like I said at the beginning, your part, it's not really that small, I don't think. I feel like it's needed. It's like, I don't know if the show would be without Aunt Dee, right? And although the show is set in the 80s, I feel like it's very timely, right? As to what's happening around the world and, what we're seeing unfold on the news. Why is this show so important in terms of educating people on multi-ethnic and multicultural families?
That's a great question. I think it really resonates even now, and on one hand, I think it's because, one, conversations about race will always be with us. We're not going, Black people are not going anywhere. And I think that for some people, it's a hard conversation. And for some people, it's a hard conversation. Oh, and they need to be more, I think, enlightened and educated about how to deal with some of these situations, because the odds of your child or your coworker or your boss or your landlord being a Black person are pretty high, or your child bringing home a Black person as their spouse, or having a Black child. And so to say I'm going to close my eyes and ears to it is not the answer. But at the same time, I think the beautiful thing that the Mixedish writers and the Blackish, everybody in the Ish universe writers do, is they acknowledge the fear that some people have. And so in that fear, we use comedy to warm you up. And so that it's not just a cold approach of, y'all ready to talk about race? It's like, I think last week we were like, we know you love the Dukes of Hazzard, which was not untrue. I mean, everybody loved the Dukes of Hazzard, and I remember there were some rich white kids that had a Dukes of Hazzard bed. I mean, that was a Confederate flag bed.
Girl.
We weren't ready to talk about
a whole Confederate flag.
A whole Confederate flag. Sleeping bed. But now we're both there, right? I haven't said anything that's not true. That's true. That was a hit show. We all love that show. Yes, it was a Confederate flag bed. Now we're there. We all have something in common. Can I talk to you real quick though? Because some of this stuff is problematic. And I think that's where Mixedish, why we go back to the 80s. You remember this? That was fun. That was funny. Now that I have you, I need to talk to you about something. We have a problem.
Yes.
And I think it's all,
Yes.
I think conversations are better that way, right? Nobody wants somebody to bust up in their house
Right.
talking about, can I talk to you? But rather say, wow, you have a
Right.
really beautiful home. Girl, can I tell you something? And then you say, just so you
Right.
know, there's a roach over there or something. But you don't just come screaming in someone's house. And that's what I feel like Mixedish
Right.
does. Yeah.
It definitely, and I feel like it's opening the door for the conversation for the Mixedish community, right? I mean, because there is a whole, like, in America alone, like, how many people are interracial couples, interracial families,
Yes.
multicultural families, and I think that this show helps open that conversation.
Yeah, and I think that the thing that Dee Dee does, which I love about her clothing and the way she speaks and her identity,
Oh, the fashion.
she wants to make sure the kids know it's very cool to be Black. It is great to be Black. This is not a burden. This is a privilege. And I think the children now need to know that. Black kids now need to know, you cool. This is great. You matter. Your life matters. You are important. And I think because there's also biracial children who, yes, some people identify as biracial, some people identify as white, but Mixedish brings up a very good, important point, which is, but don't you ever forget that many people just see you as Black. And so when you are seen that way, there are great things about that. And then here are some things you need to be cautious about. And I love that Dee Dee is like, let me tell y'all the real deal, because they don't want to tell you.
Right.
And everybody needs somebody like that in their life.
Definitely. We all need Aunt Dee Dee. What has it been like working with Tracy Ellis Ross? She had a hand in selecting you. Is that right, for this role?
Yes, she hired me for my job. Yeah.
What is that process like? Because she's very involved, right?
Yeah, she's the narrator of our show. She's our executive producer. When I came to audition, I remember one of the first things was she came up to me and said, "Hey, I don't think we've met. My name is Tracy." And all I could think was, if I was friends with you and I had met you, I would remember. I was just shaking. But she's so nice. She's so approachable. And obviously, we don't see each other every day anymore because we are, because of the pandemic. So we meet like this, basically. And so we meet every week this way. And even virtually, though, or she's just a text away, we can text each other. And it's been great to have her leadership. And also, again, another woman, Black woman, who just has broken down the doors of she was in sketch many moons ago on this show called The Lyricist Lounge. Look it up. With Most Def, and they would do sketches. I remember watching that. And now just to see her evolve into a leading lady, girlfriends, doing Blackish, she's a movie star, it's just amazing. I think, again, this is the key. Representation matters. Like, you can do this. Yeah. So it's so wonderful. And to have someone who is just like right there, not someone so far away that I can't imagine what they're like, or what they're doing today. Like, she's right there, and like someone you can see that is doing the work, and she is reaping the rewards.
Wow. Speaking of COVID, how has that process been for you guys? Was it like something that you had to adjust to going back to work in the area of COVID?
Well, our crew is amazing. They work very hard to keep us safe. We went all the way through with no shutdowns, no stopping. But it was, at first I was pretty nervous. I think everybody has their range. And so I was on the, Lord, get me out of here. This is crazy. But, oh no.
Right.
But on the other hand, I'm sorry, my phone just went off. My family saw me on TV earlier.
I know, Tamron.
New stars.
But it doesn't come on here till later.
Yeah. New stars. When your family see you on TV, they're going to call you right away. But no, yes. Okay. Tell me what I was saying again.
Like, we were talking about COVID, and you were saying you were nervous about going back to work.
Yes, I was very, very nervous about going back to work. Then, they take you through the protocols. We were getting tested every other day. no matter what. You know,
Wow.
if you had no scenes that day, you still had to come to work to get your test. And you know, the actors, obviously we didn't wear PPE, we didn't wear a face mask or face shield while we were shooting, because our show takes place in the 80s. On some other television shows, you might see them wearing their face masks because they're set in the present day. But you know, Mixedish, we weren't able to do that. So our crew, we really had to depend on face masks, their face shields, make sure they were on time for testing. There were people wiping everything down every single time you touched anything. So people really took care of us. You know, we took care of each other. I will say, you know, there's smaller, more intimate scenes now. So just the two of us, you know, it might be two characters. And like when we went to the mall last year, we can't do stuff like that this year, or go to have a big assembly at school. But we pared it down. But for the most part, the spirit of it is still the same. You know, it's still a family. I guess they're kind of on lockdown too, because they're really in the house a lot. But we made it. I'll never forget this. I mean, it was wild, but we made it for sure. And they're the only people I have seen besides my husband this whole time. So I'm sure it was very intense.
They're like your family.
Yes, yes. Because you know, they you know, they don't want you to fraternize other people, you know, maybe get sick. So yeah, we didn't go anywhere for Thanksgiving. We didn't go anywhere for the winter holidays, for Christmas, any of that, New Year's. We all just stayed here and we only saw each other. So yeah, we were a family now. We weren't before.
Okay. What can viewers expect to learn this season? Or what is Aunt Dee up to this season? And what can viewers expect to learn from the show this season?
Oh, well, I'm excited. I think, I'm not sure when you'll show this or when you'll use this, but tonight's episode 2 of season 2, Aunt Dee is at a crossroads at her job because they are wearing her down. She works for Pan Am. She's a security guard at Pan Am, I think. I know she's not a flight attendant. This woman has not been on a flight. But yeah, she's at a crossroads at her job. And it's like, these Black people are wearing me down. They really are. And her sister, Alicia, played by Tika Sumpter, is also at a crossroads at work. And so that's what tonight's episode is about. And I love how they both decide to deal with, child, these people at our jobs. And also being the only Black person at their job, because we know how that is, right?
Right. So that's a whole topic in itself.
That's a whole thing. But this year, I think you guys are gonna love the show. It's you know, we have made some changes, but I think you're still gonna love it. It's just so I find the show funny. And I think I'm a tough critic. Even though I'm on the show, I'm still gonna be like, hey, is that funny? I think it's very funny.
No, it's definitely funny. And Twitter, speaking of funny, Twitter exploded when you showed up on season 7, the Christmas episode of Blackish.
Yeah.
Are we getting any more crossover episodes? Are we gonna get any more crossovers? People were talking about the hair, the outfit. Talk to us, Christina.
Yes. Okay, Dee Dee appeared on Blackish for sure. That was a surprise to me because when I heard it was going to happen, I'm like, who's going to be on Dee Dee? Who is Aunt Dee Dee? And people started throwing out names, and I'm like, are they coming to audition? Can we see who it is? And then my reps called me. They're like, they said you was going to do it. And they're going to put you in a nicer wig. And I'm like, what? So I did it. It was fun. Aunt Dee Dee definitely has some money now. She has money now. That was clear to me. But
definitely.
Yeah. But the internet called for that crossover. They asked for Aunt Dee Dee to come to Blackish. So I guess if they asked for her to come to Grownish, she'll come there too.
Well, look, I think Aunt Dee Dee is wanted in the Ish universe, okay? Because baby, the people were talking. Yes, for sure. So February is Black History Month, and I want to know, as a Black woman working in Hollywood, do you feel like you have made it, and what does it mean for you to be taking up space in this role that you're currently in after, you know, given everything that you had to overcome to get here?
For sure. I don't know that I feel that I've made it, but I definitely enjoy that, like, a goal was accomplished. And so now I know I need to dream a bigger dream a bigger dream that includes more people. You know, who else can be
Mm-hmm.
inspired by this? The other part is I think, yeah, I wouldn't say I made it, but I would say I do also want to enjoy this too. I don't want to miss out on that because it was a minute to get here. So I do want to
You
enjoy
deserve it.
Oh,
Definitely.
thank you.
Definitely.
Thank
And
you.
you deserve to enjoy it. Christina, I want to ask a few more things before I let you go. Again, I was so struck by your story, and I want to know and ask you this. What kept you, what sustained you in those moments of your period of becoming and arriving to the place that you are now? What sustained you and kept you from not giving up?
Well, I would say, like I mentioned before, I'm a person of faith, my faith in God. I think
Mm-hmm.
this is like when you strike out to do something different than what maybe your family has done. For me specifically, there were times where I know they wanted to help me, but they just couldn't understand why wouldn't I just come back and just kind of be with them. You know, this could just be easier. And I knew that was, because on one hand, I want to say, oh, I'm standing on the shoulders of all these great Black comedians and these great Black women who came before me, but I'm not like blood related to these people. And for me, and I think this is in any industry that this can happen, but that last name, when you're the first to like build it, when you're the first to hustle your name out to people, it can be daunting, and every step is daunting, right? And so like the move here, and so my family, they've been instrumental in supporting me, even when they didn't quite get why. They're like, it does seem too hard. Like, I don't come from a family of actors. I come from a family of teachers. Versus like, we know people like the Baldwins, we know people with these last names, the Wayans, who maybe they have somebody kind of paving the way for them. And so I think for me, my family, though they did not understand it, their support is what really helped me. And then, my faith in God, it's been without fail. And I think having that, and then also I'm going to say therapy, because I feel like Black people, Black girls, we're passing this up too much. Get you a therapist, go to therapy for Black girls, get on a sliding scale if it's not in your reach right now. But there's something, it's different from talking to a friend. It's different from talking to a relative, a minister, a cousin. A therapist helped me work through so many issues of self-worth and self-esteem that had been, that I was really broken down. And a lot of my self-worth was in trying to book a show. And when I didn't feel like I was an actor anymore. I didn't feel like I was a comedian. And even in my relationship, which was going really, really well at the time, I was dating my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time. I was even like, I'm breaking up with you. Not breaking up with you, but I was like, I'm going to move and just be long distance. And he's just like, what is happening? And I said, we're dating, but I don't know if I'm ever getting married. And I don't know if I was supposed to be on a show, I would be on a show. And I decided this deadline of like, if something doesn't happen and I don't get married and I don't get a show, I'm just going to move back. And little did I know, he was like, I got your ring. I'm just trying to get myself together. And then
hey, Christina.
Right? I was messing up all my stuff. I was messing everything up. But really, like, then him even being like, let me drop you off at the therapist. Do you need a ride? Keep going to that woman. Like, work through your stuff. And really, that therapy, that got me right, where I was like, okay, if this is it, if this is where the relationship is, if this is where the career is, if this is the best and the peak of my experience, I am happy with what this is. I am satisfied. I'm content here. And it seemed like the moment I surrendered and was like, I am content, it just exploded.
Oh, Lord. Christina.
And you can have that moment and cycle through it again. So I can say, I am content being the wacky aunt on Mixedish. And then in your contentment, a new goal can be achieved. And you just keep cycling through it. That's a beautiful thing I learned from therapy too, is because a little bit of me got a little bit scared when I got this. Well, what if they replace me?
Right.
Well, what if it doesn't become a real series? Well, what if it gets canceled? Well, what if, you know, that's, don't let your mind be played with like that. I did this. I got here. I've been put here for a reason. What's the next thing?
Right. Christina, okay. Few quick things. You talked about your boyfriend then, but now your husband. Talk to us a little bit about, I'm also married, going on 9 years. How important is it for Black love to be seen and also represented? Healthy Black love, right? Black love that, like you said, your husband, boyfriend at the time, he was like, can I drive you to therapy? Because I feel like oftentimes we don't showcase or support or promote Black love, like, right? And all of its, things, good, the bad, but like overall, like how important is it for Black love to be seen and also represented? Because I heard you talk about that, and I can relate to that of having your partner being there and like you're wanting to jump off the ledge, but he's like, wait a minute, hold on, come on back in. We're going to get through this. And that support of, that you need it. Talk to us a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, Black love is so important. I mean, important to be represented on the screen, but more so important in your life, right? I think who you marry, and I'm specifically talking about marriage now. Who you marry is the single most important decision you will ever make, because it affects every single part of your life. And I'm not saying like marriage is the end all be all. Your man is more important than anybody, even yourself, even God, even your life. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when you get married, I hope you chose well, because that choice is going to affect everything. And I'm so grateful. I got a second chance because he hates when I say this. This is my second marriage. This is my last marriage. I've been married before.
Final.
But yeah, final. He's like, please don't call me your second husband. But it affects everything. I mean, because you will go through high highs together, but you will also go through low moments together. And how you chose is going to affect how well you navigate those things. If that person, I can vividly remember when Mixedish was renewed, but we had just got deep into, it got renewed in May. This is during at the point in the pandemic, George Floyd had just been murdered by the police, and we couldn't even really, there was a couple of weeks out there where Black people couldn't just even be outside because we didn't know if they were scooping up people in California, and we didn't know if they were getting lynched. And I remember when they were like, oh my gosh, we're going back to work in a couple of months. And I was like, how can we go back to work? And we're, there's COVID and driving back and forth. And what if the police stop us? And I just was too fit to be tied. I just couldn't take it. And it was my husband that was that calling force that was like, this is worth it. Go back to work.
Right.
But also to say, I feel you. I also feel nervous. I feel nervous that you're going, and he also was going to work on a show. He was like, I feel what you feel, but we can't just like stay here and hide. Like that's almost what they want, is for you to say, I give up. I don't want to do it. And I don't know, had I been single, if I would have been like, you know what, y'all can keep it. I don't want to get COVID, and I don't want the police to arrest me. I don't want to work for these white people. I don't know. Or I might have just run back home to St. Louis, to East St. Louis in the West, and just hid there. I don't know. But something about being in this marriage where he was like, look, I'm here. I'm going to show up. You need to show up too. And really saying, you can be here and you can go to Mix just afraid. So those first couple of episodes, girl, my eyeballs was like, people got on their mask. Did you just cough? Is everybody okay? I was, I was stressed.
Right.
Every week it got better. It got better. Every week it got better. We never shut down. Like
Wow.
everything turned out fine. It was okay. And we were very fortunate. But I like that person, that marriage that I didn't know I needed is probably what made season 2 happen for me, because I was nervous. I was nervous.
Shout out to the husband.
He was like, I was like, Missy Elliott, is it worth it? And he was like, yes, it is. Go to work.
Yes, it
he
is.
probably also was like, go
Yes,
to work
it is.
because you need to earn some money around here.
Christina, what advice would you give to someone who is will watch this and they're on the brink of giving up and they're on the brink of, calling it quits? They're going to write their email and send it, a mass email to everybody saying they want to quit. What is your advice, to someone out there just on the brink of giving up? And whatever it is, they're just wanting to give up. What advice would you share with them?
I would say, one, stay in it. That's the key. Stay in it. You don't have to be great in it, right? I don't know what your field is, but just stay there. Just maintain a holding pattern at this point. So if you're a filmmaker, you do not need to go shoot a movie on your iPhone. Just go watch a movie at this point. Just stay where you are. Hold on. Stay in it. Don't quit.
Right.
The other thing is trust the timing of your life. You're probably stuck on your time, your plans, but you, again, before you were born in your mother's womb, it's already set. So you just got to relax at this point. I know it's hard. And the other thing is, look around you. Somebody close to you probably is getting put on and moving up. And I'm going to say, instead of being jealous, and this was hard for me, but trust that as that God, the success is in your neighborhood. And that if that's the case, it's only a minute before it's going to come down to your house. So when your homegirl is like blowing up, when your homeboy is moving up, when that friend is moving up, don't think why hasn't it happened for me? Think, why not me? I must be next, because everybody around me is getting it, and that really kept me encouraged. So I would love it, like when Amber Ruffin would call me and be like, "Girl, I just got so and so." I'm like, "Oh man, I'm about to shoot. It's only a matter of time." Because also they're gonna run out of jobs before they run out of people, or rather, they run out of people before they run out of jobs. So one person can't do all the jobs, so they're gonna call me eventually. Right? So
and they did. And we are so glad that they did.
I am too. I'm so glad. And thank you for letting me share my journey.
I'm so excited. And before you go, you're an AKA. I'm a Delta. What did you feel about the inauguration when you saw your Sarah become another first, right? Black VP. What were your thoughts? How are you feeling as an AKA? Are you feeling like, yes, you got on your pink today too? What are you feeling?
Always. I'm so excited. Well, I mean, first of all, it's a triumph for not just Black people, but for the Divine Nine, right? Because, we know that this is the mark of a highly educated person when they are a member of our organizations. And so I was really proud, and celebrating. And then, of course, it's not a secret. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, we threw our own Founders Day celebration and threw our own inauguration for her the Friday before.
Oh, wow.
Clown. Oh, yes. I'm gonna Google it. They might have let the link go public because there wasn't anything on there that people couldn't see. But I loved it.
Goodness.
I was like, this is so over the top. Her line sisters planned it. It was so over the top.
What?
She was on there for like 45 minutes. We did it. We all had to do it via Zoom because we don't have chapter meetings in person anymore. And she was there for 45 minutes. And it meant so much because, again, it just shows me like, this is really us in there, right? Like she knew, like I knew as soon as she was like, people were like, "Oh my gosh, what is it like to be in your sorority and have your sorority sisters?" She was like, "My line sisters." I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. She was like, these are specifically, right. And I love her specificity about Alpha Kappa Alpha. I love her specificity about the Divine Nine, how she makes sure people know that she went to Howard, a historically Black university. Like, I love that about her, that none of this stuff, you know, falls through the cracks. And so, yeah, I'm very excited. And for the representation, I don't think we ever needed it to convince anyone to join a Black Greek organization, but I take the advertisement.
Girl, because y'all get it every time I turn on the news, I'm looking at her line sisters on the news. Somebody from AK is on the news.
Yeah, there were people on the news. One of my line sisters was on the news, and I was like, "How do you know her?" She was like, "I don't." She was like, "Anybody can get on here." Everybody was on the news.
Girl,
everybody.
I'm sure membership is gonna go up as it should. I'm sure it's gonna go up. Everybody's gonna want to go. I love it. We're happy too. Like you said, the Divine Eyes, we're all supported. We're happy. Like, girl, we had on our chucks and pearls celebrating Kamala. I think that it's big. And like you said, we feel like we're like in the White House too, even though we're not. I mean, we feel like we have a voice to speak on our behalf, right? Christina, thank you for talking to us today. Look, this is everything I needed. I feel like this was therapy.
Yes.
This was so good. Congratulations, Christina. You deserve all of your things, all of your flowers. So I'm cheering you on, sister. Like, seriously. Yes. Thank you. And I'll be watching tonight.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for letting me again share. And I appreciate it, and helping me to get the show and my name out there. I appreciate you, my sister.
Of course. Love you. Of course. Thank you so much, Christina.
Okay. Love you. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
We used to be ashamed. Where is the buzz?